Hey everyone, this is Oscar from Underdog, and today I have a very important philosophical or methodological question for you. What's your method? What's your process? Does it result in art that you want to show to the world and defend? Does it result in art that you identify with, that you think reflects you as an individual or as a creator, or heaven forbid, even as an artist? It's kind of a conceptual question, right? So let me explain what I mean with two main examples, one by myself and one example by Mick Gordon, the creator of the Doom video game soundtrack. Let me show you how I think about this process first and foremost. So the music that you're hearing in the background is a song that I'm going to put online today on my SoundCloud account as Torque. It is weird, it is minimalist, and yet it is an aesthetic that I want to defend out in the world. But why? Why would I do that? Where would I find the courage to say, this is what I identify with, this is what I want to represent me? I think when you're trying to do art, this is a question that you bounce up quite often. Because in the beginning, you're just kind of learning your craft and you're like, how do I make a good song? How do I make something that is objectively good? And you think that there's some kind of linear scale between badness and goodness, and you just want to get up towards the goodness. And then at a certain point, your skills grow and you become good enough to execute pretty much any vision that you'd want to execute. But then the scary question arrives, which is, what do you want to express? What is your voice? What is your sound? Because then you start to realize that there is no such thing as absolute good or bad. There's just aesthetic decisions and how well they are executed. So then how do you decide what your aesthetic vision is? And the answer that I would offer you today in the video is that we should zoom out and take it one step back, which is that the process defines the outcome. And so as a consequence, if you own the process and you identify with the process, you will also own the outcome and identify with the outcome. Let me show you in a very practical way how that came about in the song that's playing right now. I was working on a techno track and I had started jamming on the piano over the top of it. So first of all, I play a little bit of piano, so I own that in a biographical sense. I feel like I'm adding my experience on the piano to my composition. And the riff that I came up with was this, right? And fairly simple, just a couple of chords, and very rhythmical. And that's cool, but then my decision was to start exploring the edges of this plugin that I've been using for quite a while now, which is called Portal. I'm not affiliated with them, but it's like a granular delay plugin, right? And I've been using their presets for a long time and I really like the outcomes. And so I decided that it would be appropriate for me in Portal not to use the presets. So what I did instead was I would just leave the default presets and go in under the hood and start messing around, finding the edges of what sounds cool here. So for example, I would mess with these kind of things. And the way the sound really fell apart there. I love the way that degrades. The way that sounds like hesitation, you know, like in that video that I did a few weeks ago on hesitation. This gives me so many goosebumps that I was like, okay, wow, I just need to go with this. You see how flicking through presets may not have gotten me to this result, because why would I choose one preset over the other one? Well, you know, I don't have a strong enough motivation. But in this case, I discovered this moment of goosebumps myself. And so it's connected to me. So I own the process. Therefore, I own the outcome. I automated the settings on one of these portals as well over a long time. And then I sat back down on the piano and I just jammed out like a very repetitive, minimalist phrase. Just like this. Not paying attention to the grid or whatever. Just whenever it felt right. Just adding that piano. And in a way, the piano sort of holds it all together. So we've got these two elements that are in their own ways really stable but unstable at the same time. There's this predictability yet unpredictability. So your mind's eye is drawn towards the edges of the texture, which I find very, very attractive. And so a secondary lesson in that is that trust your emotions. They are the only or the main compass which will point you in a certain direction. Like my emotions tell me right now that this touches me very strongly. but my head immediately wants to go towards a very formulaic kind of practiced way of doing music, which is, okay, now I need to add some techno drums and I need to make a break and I need to make all these kind of constructions that I would do in a typical music production session. On some level, I want to have the resistance and the bravery to stand up to myself and to say, nope, that's not what this needs. This just needs to be a sound bath where you can just spend time in and just contemplate and reflect. And now I wouldn't have gotten to this result by flicking through presets. Instead, I needed to simplify my process so I could own the process. And now I just want to clarify that that doesn't mean that presets are evil somehow. No. Your process very well may be to use presets, but then the process part that you own is that you play amazing keyboard over it. Or maybe you're a singer and your process is to take splice loops, which are already very constructed, but it is your voice and your lyrics and the emotion that you construct in the song that is your process. There's no right or wrong way to make music. There's just the endless quest to find the process that you identify with, which then will result in you making music that you want to bring out into the world. Equally, the processes that you don't use also identify you. For example, I've never in my life learned how to play the guitar. Guitar sounds in themselves rarely give me goosebumps, and so my choice not to use a guitar is simply a very personal biographical choice, and I own that because that's just me. That's who I am. I am not X, Y, or Z. But anyway, speaking of not using guitars, let's move on to the second part of this, which is Mick Gordon's contribution to this. Because honestly, Mick Gordon is one of the most inspiring music composers that I've ever seen. So Mick Gordon is the composer of the video game soundtrack for Doom. And he's got a very big musical background, but specifically in metal music. He's very good at playing metal music. And the developers of the Doom game were like, we don't really want to be associated necessarily with just heavy metal. So Mick, could you please make this video game soundtrack without guitars? And so instead, Mick Gordon started to do a whole bunch of research, trying to figure out a different way, a different process that would lead to a different result. So by changing the process, he would change the identity and the feeling of the outcome entirely. Because if the process was just use all the instrumentation of metal music, you would end up with metal music. And they wanted to go a slightly different direction with this. Okay, so what did he do? Well, instead he did research for a new method. And the method that he came up with has, in my eyes, two really exciting parts. So what Mick did was he would play sine waves and then distort the heck out of those sine waves. So most of his instrument would just be sine waves, and then all the texture and color created in the sound would be done with distortion. So for example, in Ableton, you would take an operator, right? And boop, 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 boop. One frequency, no harmonics. That's what a sine wave is all about. And so let's go down a few octaves. Nice. So around 60 hertz, I think that's a good place to start. And so what he would do is he would play some riffs. And I'm not going to overthink this here. I'm just going to create a little half a bar riff and go. Okay, imagine this little riff, right? Just da, 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 da. In itself, it's not going to transform anyone's life, and it certainly doesn't make for a good soundtrack for running through hell and killing legions of demons like is the intention. But, however, if you know that in this process, this sine wave is enough to give us the fundamental, and then we add distortion on top, let's see how far we can push this. Okay, I'm digging this. Let's add some more in parallel. So we'll group this one, group it, make a new chain. And you know what? Just copy paste, and keep searching for something else. Amazing. And now we're getting into different territory. And so the second method that he would use is something called the Doom compressor, which is really just if you take OTT and you push it to its natural limit. So it's upward and downward compression, pinning the volume of a sound basically at a certain volume. It's almost like an infinite upward and downward compressor. That way the volume of the output never really changes. All the dynamic nuances that are inside of a sound come absolutely to the foreground. We can mimic something like this simply by taking a multiband dynamics, turning off all the different bands, and then being really ridiculous with our upward and downward compression. So this is super assertive, right? You hear that? You hear the tails of various sounds going down to zero. If you turn this off, it has a lot of dynamics. The volume kind of jumps up and down a bit. Not a lot, as you can see on the meter, but a bit. But once you do this, the volume is just pinned. It's always the same. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, Mick Gordon's result is something like this. And at the end of the day, Mick did manage to sneak back in some guitars in a very special and unique way, which he talks about at a conference called GDC. There's a video of it here. If there's only one takeaway from this entire video that you do, go watch that damn video. It's one of my favorite videos on music composition of all time. In it, he says, change the process, change the outcome. So he changed his process and then he got a very different outcome. And I would take that idea and take it a little bit further and say, if you own the process, you own the outcome. If you identify with the process, you will also identify with the outcome. And as a final thought, I would like to know, do you have a process? Do you have a method that you identify with that you feel quite precious about? Leave it in the comments below because I always learn a lot from what people share in the comments. Thanks for bearing with me on one of my more philosophy-oriented videos. As usual, of course, like the video and subscribe to keep the YouTube algorithm happy. You know we gotta feed that beast. See if the courses on my website are something for you. And until next time, stay producing, be good to each other, and take care. Bye-bye.